I expected warmth when I got home. The aroma of something delicious coming from the oven and the sound of laughter echoing from the hallway. Noel might even be cuddled up on the couch, her hair in a sleepy bun, as a movie hummed from the living room. Maybe there'd be a piece of pie waiting, like we hadn't clashed over the guest list the previous evening, but instead, I walked into quiet. Not just silence, but a hollow sort of stillness that pressed into my chest and echoed back something more than the absence of sound. Then I noticed Dolores, Noel's grandmother, slouched in the recliner, like someone who hadn't moved in hours. I threw my keys in the bowl by the door. "Noel!" I called out, trying not to let the silence into my voice. No response. The house was tidy. 2 wine glasses in the sink, a cardigan draped over a dining chair, a shoe on the floor, undisturbed. Everything looked staged, or worse, abandoned, and then I saw it. On the kitchen counter, carefully placed beside a glass of water and Noel's favorite little porcelain pumpkin, was a folded note. My name written across the top in her delicate calligraphy. Hesitated. Something about it felt final, like unfolding it would unravel everything, and then I read it. "I'm going to a show with my ex. We need to catch up. I thought it was time for you to have the experience of providing care. Don't worry, Grandma has my full affection." My hands trembled, not because I didn't understand, but because I did. This wasn't a favor. It was a message, a test, a punishment maybe. I looked at Dolores, half expecting her to still be asleep, but she wasn't. She was sitting up, eyes wide, open, alert. "How long would it take you to discover that?" she asked, her voice strong. I blinked. Dolores rose from the chair with the kind of control that made me question every story Noel had ever told me about her failing health. She moved, with purpose, smoothed the wrinkle in her blouse and said, "Shall we begin?" She asked it like this was some kind of ritual. I stood there, still clutching the note, feeling like it might vanish if I folded it wrong. "What exactly are we starting?" I asked. She smiled, not kindly. It was the smile of someone taking measure. "We won't need that anymore," she said, nodding to the note. I looked back toward the counter, half expecting Noel to burst in and yell, "Surprise!" "Just kidding." But nothing happened. Dolores turned and walked toward the kitchen table. With the grace of someone half her age, she pulled out a chair and motioned for me to sit. And I did, unsure whether I was caught in an elaborate joke or standing at the threshold of something far heavier. "You look like a man who just realized the floor beneath him might be made of sand," she said. "How does it feel?" I stared. "I don't know yet." She nodded, calm and unblinking. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a teacup of chamomile. The smell was familiar. I'd made it for her countless times when Noel brought her over. I always thought she just liked the taste. But tonight, the ritual felt different. She poured slowly, no tremor, no confusion. When Noel had said, "She's declining," I had believed her. "She says a lot of things," Dolores muttered. "Doesn't make them true." I leaned back in the chair. Truth was starting to pool in places I hadn't noticed before. Dolores sipped her tea. Her image of me, soft, compliant, was unraveling in real time. She set her cup down and leaned forward. "You've been kind, Jonas, even if blind. You deserve the truth about the woman you married. I didn't know what game I was playing, but I knew this. Dolores wasn't just a character in it. She was the one holding the script. I'm Jonas Fairchild. I've been married to Noel for 4 years." And despite the awkward silences, the side-eye remarks disguised as humor. I didn't expect this. Maybe I was too focused on holding our delicate puzzle together. Noel had always been self-centered, though not in obvious ways. She'd toss puzzle pieces out the window, quietly. She didn't scream in public, but if she wanted sushi, she got it. If she didn't want to see my family, we didn't. Once, I drove 4 hours to surprise her at a retreat. She gave me a cheek kiss in front of her friends, then whispered, "Don't do that again." I thought love meant giving her space to be herself. But now, standing in my kitchen, holding a prescription schedule from her grandmother, I realized what loving her had really meant. Sometimes you compromise time, Dolores said, tapping the paper. Sometimes you compromise dignity. She thinks I'm too old to manage pills, she added. I looked down. Nothing serious. Just supplements. You seem fine to me. That's because I am, she said. Noel performs for anyone who might listen to her sob stories. She says you're not ambitious, Dolores added. I winced. It hit too quickly. I have the texts if you want to read them, she continued. She talks about you like you're a stepping stone. I gripped the chair. Silence wouldn't save me now. Dolores stood and left the room. When she returned, she carried a large manila folder and placed it gently in front of me. A gift you haven't earned yet, her eyes said. I opened it. Bills, at first. Then out-of-state hotel invoices, a printout of a text thread, flirtatious, familiar, time-stamped, dated 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Noel and her ex-boyfriend, Camden Broadway's Balthazar Hotel Suite, registered under Camden. She said she was helping her cousin plan a wedding that weekend, but Dolores raised an eyebrow. She left you, I whispered, staring at the papers until they blurred. She handed me a punishment. I said. Dolores was serene. There was a key in her gaze, a freedom I hadn't expected. She never wanted a partner, she said softly. She needed a prop. And you? She added. You're far too solid to be one. I exhaled. Didn't even realize I'd been holding my breath, every icy glance. Every time she said I was too sensitive, clicked into place. You were fragile, I muttered. I am, Dolores replied. But not the way she thinks. I'm porcelain. Hard to break, harder to replace. We sat in silence, the kind that heals. What do I do with all this? I finally asked. She cleaned her cup. Do whatever you want, Jonas. But if I were you, I wouldn't wait for permission to breathe. That night, I didn't sleep much, but for the first time in years, I nudged open a door I hadn't realized. It was always ajar, not because I was afraid, but because I was finally awake. The next morning, I made tea. Dolores was already waiting at the table. Same poise. Same quiet authority. The folder still sat on the counter, heavier than paper. It was years of pretending not to know. For years, I was invisible. Love, always with a price tag. She barely introduced me to people. Now I placed the mug in front of Dolores. She accepted it. Time for some truths. You ready? She asked. I nodded. I thought I was. She continued. Since the day you met her, she's been rewriting history. Dolores leaned forward. She told her friends you chased her for months. You didn't. I remember. You were invited to that gallery show, and I remember her packing your boxes while you were still at work. I blinked, laughed softly, because I remembered. Noel had shown up at my apartment, bags in hand. No conversation. Just expectation. Well, now that I'm here, and I'd rearranged my life around that moment.